in the languages where you understand. We are Jambo Radio. Jambo Radio, inspiring transformation.
Wow. Okay,
Hello.
we've got our video montage back. I couldn't wait. I have to just give a thumbs up to the producer.
Yeah, I couldn't hear the audio. I know that montage used to have an audio back then, so I don't know. That was
No. It
very
sounded well.
beginnings, right?
I could hear it. I could hear it. It sounded.
Well, you could. I didn't hear mine maybe because I like the new look. I like the beard.
How you doing, brother?
Somebody has left the streets, has left the cathedral, is now in the streets full time.
Santi, you have an accent now. You don't go lead to go by accent. Have you heard for see accent speak?
Okay, where you doing? I will see you.
I don't know.
I don't
How you
see
doing,
bro.
Osega? Osega is back on. Yeah. Osega, we can't see you. Probably maybe you have to work on your video or something.
It's not me.
Beautiful
maybe
people. It's another lovely Monday afternoon. Another lovely Monday afternoon. And I have good news for you. The squad is complete. Everybody's in town today. So all hands are on deck. Get your notepad, get your paper, get everything. It's gonna be hot.
Get your tickets ready.
Get your ticket. Check your ticket, please. How's everything? How's it been?
Okay.
Osega, how have you been?
Fine.
Yeah, I can see you.
Yeah, been good.
Bro, you
been
look like money.
I've been to London to see the king, and I'm back. Yeah,
And I'm
good
back.
to be back.
You look
Good
like
to have you
money.
guys. Yeah.
No wonder you look like money.
Yeah,
That's
right.
nice.
Watch
That's
me now.
nice.
That's why I never bath today.
So last week was really, so we had this talk we're having last week. We're looking at the government, the people, and policies
The
and
people,
everything,
the
and how,
economy, and the state of the government.
and the economy itself, and the state of the government, and how generally we're looking at it from the aspect of protest. So last week we were really very, very key about Nigeria. We're looking more from the Nigerian perspective with the whole end corrupt governance, end bad governance, the whole protest, and we looked it way back to end SARS, but we didn't really touch end SARS. I know if we're going to touch that, that's a whole topic. So we looked at it, and we also looked at way back when they did the subsidy, this subsidy protest, way back when Jonathan was still the president and everything. But this week,
2012.
I want us to bring it home because honestly, protest has been sparking around the world, some for positive reasons, some for negative reasons. And it's so unfortunate that the one we have here in the UK has been laced with a lot of negativity. Recently, I heard in the news that over 300 people have been arrested so far in connection with this protest. So you see, the government are doing a lot to clamp down. But I want us to start on by talking about when you look at this protest, the whole far right. I like the name they give them, far right. I remember back then in school, we used to call people leftists, people who think negative. But right now from the UK perspective, they call them far right. Maybe now because they drive from the right, and we drive from the left. I don't know. Maybe that's the reason.
Possibly.
No. It's not that. It's actually from Karl Marx ideology, and we have people who have actually diverged into this system. So when we say the right wing and the left wing, it has been an agitation for long. The right wing are those elites, oligarchies, those people who are actually the beneficial of the system, running it per se. So layman, while the left wing are the common people, the middle class, and people who actually are the engine of the economy. So there's always been a tussle in the society between these two people. The far right are now the capitalists in some perspective, and in some economic analysis. There are those people that are in political power, those people who have they are the 1%, the one we categorize the 1%. So when you now have the right
The
wing, there's
1% of
also
the
the far
1%.
right. Yeah, so there's the far right now is now the most powerful of the right wing. itself, you get. So these guys are really, really. I love the way they hit the nail on the far right. So we have far left. I don't know if there's far left. I've never had. It's just left wing. It's always left wing.
Maybe
Far left people go.
maybe
Far
during
left
the
people are
next
the ones that
protest,
never switch
we see
up.
the far left people come out.
So
And to be honest,
I
there will
told
be maybe those are the rural people, the rural dwellers and all. But we should have far
Yeah,
left too.
thank you.
So the argument.
I told you guys to get your pen and paper ready that today you're going to get schooled. That's Dimeji just taking us to class. It took us to class there.
Mm.
So Dimeji, let's talk about Tommy Robinson as an individual. I don't know if you've heard so much about him because I did a little Google search on him on the person of Tommy Robinson and how he's been anti-Islamic with all his propaganda. He's used the propaganda as a real tool to really, talk about things. So it goes far back. I can't paint the I didn't take the I can't paint the year way back where a Muslim kid was bullied. Way back, the Muslim kid was bullied in school and was really harassed, beaten, and all that, mugged and everything. And people were talking about it, like stories were coming up of how wrong it was. Then he, as a person, went dug up a video of I think the kid once threatening uh to gorge a kid with a pencil or something, a girl or something, and then he created a narrative of how Muslims are violent towards white women with that little clip, and that eclipsed the whole issue of the child being bullied and everything, and that was the beginning of different things that he's been putting up. He even got a court injunction. It was so funny enough that few days before the protest started, he was supposed to appear in court because he was given an injunction to stop this wrong propaganda. And he had a documentary he had created. And few days to when he was supposed to appear in court, he screened it on like a billboard where they were having like a carnival or something. And that really sparked up everything. And so these kind of people, it reminds me of somebody like that reminds me of Nnamdi Kanu in a way that they are able to to spur the public to react in a certain way with their words, with articles and everything. So right now he's on the run. Last I read, he's wanted. He's a wanted person, so he's out of the UK right now. So it giving that Nnamdi Kanu vibes, who spurred the Igbos and then left the country, got captured later on after. So, what do you see as this man's role in this issue? Let's talk about it. Is it really is something that is worth talking about?
Yeah,
Honestly,
yeah. And thank you very much for that question because the way I'm going to answer that question, as much as I want to be constructive and diplomatic, I'll bring it from the broader perspective and narrow it down to your question, which is Tommy Robinson.
yeah,
But I don't want to just talk about the small player here. I want to start from the big fish. There is a
yeah,
there was a horse someone rode upon, and this country is United States. United States happen to be a decider, whether we like it or not, a major decider of how democratic governments across the globe is patterned about after. So we have Donald Trump. Donald Trump first tenure. It's a rhetorical question. What kind of horse do you think Donald Trump rode upon to win his presidential election? That's one. Secondly, while he was in office, how was his statement, his countenance, his attitude was like? These are things that are subject to conversation that we need to actually now critically look into. And we see the kind of government that also took over Donald Trump, and we want to question what is going on about how has people gone into insensitive conversation. I listened to his manifesto recently, and he said something about black jobs, and how could you
yeah.
on your on such global stage be making such insensitive statements? What do you mean by black jobs in 2024? And these are things that we need to be questioning. What do you mean by black jobs? You're saying some kind of race are coming to come and take black jobs and all. And people are talking about gentrification, yawning disparity in America, why some people are, on the go, they're already disadvantaged, and some people are benefiting from, many social amenities and dividends of democracy in the country. So we talk about politics of sentiments when from the advent of, from the rise of Donald Trump, we see, and it's evidential from the statement of black jobs and all. So we come home here. Before I talk about this guy you talk about, what about this guy in power? He's not wanted, he's in power, and he's comfortably, he was elected in, that's Nigel Farage. Nigel Farage, before he won this election, before he made some statement about, and I think in one of our last episodes, I made mention of him when he talked about integration and all. And these are people that are spurring widespread immigration propaganda. More like we are not actually addressing what is going on in the world. The world is we have what is called currency threats going on. Immigrants are not responsible for that. There's been a torso of world power going on right now, and these people don't want to come out open to say they are losing the war economically. The world people fighting for this world power. We know them. We know the China, and we know their allies. We know the Russians. We know their allies. We know the Arabian ones, the UAE, how they're building their economy and all. And there's a currency threat that is happening to you. So how are immigrants responsible for that? Naturally, people will tilt towards, we are offering services, we're working, and we're doing everything diligent enough to earn a living for ourselves. So how do we become the threat to a stable economy that has been stable over the years? And these are intellectual conversations that I want them to come open, to come and tell us in court. I said, no, let us put aside all propaganda and all this political BS that they are pushing forward to their people. So we have exploitation, the politics of exploitation, the democracy of exploitation that have been going on years after years is not actually viable anymore. Because what is happening right now is that they are contending power. People that actually contending for the world power as them are also trying to explore in that angle, and they are beating them to their game. These are things that I could table. I could say it openly, and you see China. What is Chinese company, their presence in Africa? What is it doing against the exploitation of the West? These are people offering better deals, and they are trying to also push forward their narrative in societies where you have exploited for years and years and years, and they are beating you to their game. So you don't want to talk about that. And these people are not even trading they're not trading in your currency anymore. You see, China and Russia, they've dropped dollars in their trade, and they're trading in their currency in order to boost their economy. So it's not a rocket science. This is evidence, but it's just so sad that people prey upon people's ignorance in order to spread propaganda rather than come open to the truth. So what do we have again? And we have the adverse effect of this going on, which is an unemployment and poverty rates, which people react towards in the increased tax rates and their social benefits they've been benefiting for a while that the government cannot keep up with. So how are the government officials coming up openly to tell their people the truth? So Nigel Farage did something that amazed me. So I don't know why these governments are not actually looking into that. You drove past every hotel that asylum seekers have been, have been harbored in, and you were making speech in your limousine, rolling down, showing the name of the hotels each, even going to the lobby and even telling your people, doing this documentary and letting them know how they've been using government money, whatnot, and all.
Dimeji, let me
How
jump
is
in
that
here.
not okay? Yeah.
Okay, let me jump in here. You said a lot, and what I can pick from all this is this whole narrative was was brewed by the government rather than the pawn. Because right now, what you have said, from what I can deduce, is Tommy Robinson is just a pawn in this whole scheme. He's just the one being pushed forward, because you have said a lot of how the government have been saying things, have been shelling out statements that has been really, kind of insightful in a way.
I wouldn't call him a pawn. I will call
Policies,
him a weapon. I'll use the right word he is. He's a
you call it
weapon
more of a
in the hand.
weapon. All
Yeah, I'll
right.
call him more of a weapon. He has been a viable weapon in all this whole scheme. You made mention of Nnamdi Kanu, and we do say Nnamdi Kanu is a pawn. pawns are those people that are lined in front of in the war front. But what are they? The pawns, they're not stupid. Also, the way we talked about pawn is that they've been commanded to go and die sheepishly. No, they are given weapon also in order to give them confidence of defense, of survival. So these are weapons in the hand of who? The
The bigger
protesters.
boss.
Yeah, so the
Yeah.
protesters and the people reacting to all these propagandas are the pawn. So you've just mentioned one of the weapon. So I just expose what is going on from the broader perspective, from the global perspective, to what is the gameplay at home and what the leaders have been using as a as a distraction from the main thing going on to what they feel that should be a reaction. So you need to keep
Yeah.
people going, but you don't need to keep people going in the wrong direction. You
All right.
understand? So
Osega,
Yeah, I'm
What
with
do you
you.
think about what's your angle? Let me hear from you. What's your angle in this whole?
Uh, as much as we would like to acknowledge propaganda, right, in all of this, there's also ignorance because, I mean, where ignorance thrives, it's easy for propaganda to flourish. There's
Yeah.
also the fact that a lot of the citizens here have been angry and they only needed an outburst. They needed an outlet. They needed something to spark them into the streets. And I think that was what they got from the Southport stabbings, killings. It was just the last hay that broke the camel's back. You know, it was unfortunate that it had to get to that level. It never had to, but in all of those, we could see that priorities were clearly misplaced, even while they seemed like they had a right to do what they did. Because I got a ton of videos on TikTok, and when they were interviewing these same protesters, asking them, "Oh, what are your grievances? Oh, they've taken our jobs. What kind of jobs did they take? What do you currently do? I don't work. "Oh, really? You don't work. And so how do they take your job if you're not working?" And there's a lot of them being spread around. So clearly this was not about what they're justifying it to be, but just because they needed a reason to be on the streets. Same thing that happened in 2012 during the subsidy protest in Nigeria. You know, um, it was simply the let's just call them now, to borrow the language of our brother Dimeji, who orchestrated that to happen because the oligarchs in quotes, all the big names, current president was there, Femi Falana and all of the guys who the top dogs in the Nollywood industry were all out for this same protest, even when it had, as in, it was clearly orchestrated. The subsidy has to, as in, you have to put it back, don't take it out. I mean, you're going to kill us and all of that. Now, because we did have a listening president at the time who, I mean, okay, that's fine. If you clearly don't want it, I can't force you. And then he rescinded on his decision. And then, shocking that these same guys, who now, when they have a reason to protest, are nowhere to be found. Their voices have been quietened. You know, in another thing that is was an eye opener for me is the fact that the person you think you know so well, you really don't know. Because
That's
when the
right.
protest happened, a lot of these guys who are our own friends and neighbors, I mean, it was shocking to see them file out en masse to join the same protest. One of the videos, one of the guys had to drive almost 100 miles to a different venue for his protest. And they asked him, "Why would you drive all the way here to Middlesbrough?" As in, why? And like, yeah, because they're taking our jobs. So it's some of them also had reason. It was also a stone throw at the government of the day, who they are clearly against, for reasons best known to them. So all of it just spiraled into one uncontrollable fiesta of fury. Glad that all of it has, and most of it has died down anyway. I mean, a lot of people lost properties and stuff that would be hard to replace. The trauma is there, and that's not something you can easily erase. We're still dealing with those
Exactly.
things as we speak, but it's good to know that things are back to, or at least getting back to normal. And then
Back to normal.
lessons, we pick our lessons, we learn, and then we move forward as a community. I'm hoping it works for everybody as well.
All right. So I want to put this on the table. Let's look at what the role the media has played, because because lately I've tried as well to listening to news, just getting information as regards everything. And a statistic came out. I don't know how correct that is. I'll still try and verify again that from 2023 till date, that in terms of employment, Africans and Asians have gotten the higher percentage of employment in the UK than the Brits. That was I had the information somewhere, one of the news platforms. So how do you see this as, though the question I asked was, like you said, what kind of jobs are they getting? That is the first question. Because to be very honest with you, a huge chunk of the jobs that we are getting, immigrants are going for, are care jobs, to be honest. Care jobs and stewards. And believe you me, I know a lot of people who I've spoken to who are Brits who have told me that they stopped doing care jobs just when COVID hit for their lives. So clearly, till date, the health sector, if you go to the UK website, the health sector is still listed as one of the areas where there's shortfall in jobs. And it's evident in even when you go to the NHS, they are lacking staff. I was in the hospital the other day when one of the nurses was telling me there are just two of them on duty. It's so difficult right now. They need, like, there's so much in terms of shortfall. And these are the shortfalls that immigrants are filling up. The jobs people are refusing to take. You hardly see why people who want to work in care homes as care providers, they'll tell you, no, I can't do that
True.
job and everything. So my question is, what are the jobs that you are complaining that immigrants are coming to take? That is the first question that's on the table right now.
Do you want me to jump? Do you want me to jump in?
Dimeji, yeah.
Yeah, I love the fact that Ose made mention something, but I'll just clarify the fact that what he was talking about was social benefit. From his example of the person who was talking, and they asked him, "What are you doing? You're taking our job. So what job are you currently doing?" Say he was not working. There's another guy also that was interviewed, and I laughed. They asked him, he said they're taking his job. He can't get a job. And say, why? Why can't you get a job? It's because he was out of jail 3 years ago. He assaulted a kid,
A
underage
minor,
girl,
yeah.
and because a minor. So you can't blame that on your criminal record, but it's easier for you to blame you not getting a job on immigrants. So these are things we see, and you understand. It's easier to find someone to blame for your own mistakes, your predicament, because that takes the responsibility out of you. So we can't expect everyone in the society to be responsible enough. That being said, let us move into your question. Before I answer your question, I love to always come from the broader perspective. This is a
I
working
like you for
economy.
that.
So this is a working economy already. This is a developed economy. Also, you have a
Yeah.
gigantic economy going. You need people to keep this economy running. So
True.
when people
That's right.
refuse to show up, you don't the government. See, let us think like the government, so we don't blame everything on the government. You guys manufacture Mercedes Benz, and you produce chunk. I'm just saying, for an example, you produce chunk of cars for consumption of the world, to the world. I mean, all the countries in the world uses Mercedes Benz, right? And that is just one of your many companies. So you guys have gigantic economy running already. You need people to keep that going, that economy going. So where you find people that are not showing up, the government does not think as regards, oh, my nationality. You need people to keep the economy running, regardless. So this is a matter of life and death when it comes to NHS. You need to save life. That is the quality of care. And regardless of who is in the business of saving life, it is who is available, who can actually keep this running that matters, right?
Mm.
So you said they are short staffed. I wonder if it is the selection process now they are angry at, or the immigrants, or the selection. If the selection process is not fair, then we also can actually join in the protest with them and say, no, you can't be choosing us alone and not choose your people. But the selection process is so open that there is short staff. Even as we speak, even after this, there's still short staffing in NHS, in all care homes, in all hospitals. And the question is, are people actually showing up for these jobs? So what
That's
kind
a
of
very
jobs,
good
like,
question.
what kind of jobs are we talking about? Because last time I checked, now we need to pull this open right now. Last time I checked, K is a doctor, is a PhD holder. I don't know about Ose, but I want to believe Ose also is here for his masters and all. Last time I checked, I am a master's holder. I'm trained as a journalist. But in order to keep my visa, to keep my foot here, I am working as a care staff, a care assistant, which is
In
not
order
even
to
part
pay the
of my
bills.
passion. To pay the bills is not part of my passion. So if you are telling me that that is not fair, what about fairness about some certain jobs we can actually get also that we feel that it's not actually open to us? These kind of jobs are open to us because it is actually there's high need there in this sector, and we are
Yeah.
taking it as survival. So I want to
Yeah.
correct that notion of them thinking that when they see any African or any immigrant, these people have come from the gutter or from nothing, and we didn't actually seek. It's not all of us that sought asylum here, or we are being funded by government. We pay every bit of our bills here, fam. We came here to
Yeah,
study
that,
masters, not on
Dimeji,
scholarship.
you will continue, but let me say something. Honestly, that is the problem because the truth is, a lot of a lot of people think 80% of black people who are here are asylum seekers, and that's a wrong notion. That narrative needs to be corrected, like you said, because a lot of people feel okay, the asylum seekers, the government is funding them and everything with taxpayers' money and all that. So that's a narrative that needs to change. Continue, my
Yeah.
brother.
So now to hit the nail on the head as regards your question about media,
Yeah.
it's a shame what we see the media doing now in order to actually push agendas. I questioned I questioned the BBC on what they needed to correct. The whole message that actually got this thing spiral about a boy stabbing. Rest in peace to the beautiful angels that were got stabbed. That was not an immigrant. That was not even a black person that did that. So a wrong news got into the media, went viral, and you didn't even care to verify because you don't understand your role in the society, that you are responsible for this thing called mass media mind control, and whatever that passed through your platform, millions and millions of people will trust it even without verifying it because BBC has been here for a long time. So responsibility stands on we media personnel, not just BBC alone, all media agencies and media personnel, media workers that are doing their job. Not that we are not susceptible to errors, but there are some certain kind of errors that can actually spark war, and we've seen that the media is able to actually also, press just a little button, just like, and that will go like an explosion. And we have already experienced in the world what is called cultural advancement and integration. It has been achieved over the years. We've settled down here, years and years before now, even before our migration. We have had what is called cross-cultural marriage. How do you explain to those kids the product of those cross-cultural marriage, that they are against your kind because your dad is black, your mom is white? They don't consider you pure anything, either pure whiteness or pure blackness. The world has advanced beyond all these sentiments and conversation. We've experienced cross-cultural businesses. We are experiencing what is called cross-cultural friendship. I have friends that they don't look like me, and I like them. They are good people. I like them. There are
Of
people I
course.
like. We invite ourselves to dinner. I go to their birthday party. They come for my function. We love ourselves so much. So the world has advanced beyond all these arguments, all this segment. So to see this in display, it is more like you are settling us back. You are taking us back to history that we've healed from. It is not fair. So I believe that the media could do better. It is not fair. The society has gone past all this. And what we get now, before we can actually pick up the pieces again, what we get now is people now not even knowing to trust whether your laugh is genuine, your good morning is genuine, your hug is genuine, your smiling is genuine, and you are taking us back to what we've healed from. So I think the onus rests on all media practitioners, on all media outlets. I'm saying this without no apology, that we do not need all these kind of sick things, all these all this kind of all this kind of things that are taking us back to what we've healed from to be projected. We've got kids, we've married white ladies, we've married people from British, we've married Irish women, we've married and we love them. So how do we explain to our kids what is going on?
And they love us. And the fact the mix is already there. So that's the problem. The mix is already there because, like you said, most of the people I interface with daily right now, I interface more with white people than with black people right now. So there's a lot of interface, there's a lot of cultural understanding. I'm getting to understand their culture more. They're getting to understand my culture more. We're talking people. There's this convergence that is already taking place. So all these
Yeah.
are setting people back. So quickly, let's jump away from that to say I want you to jump on this, but I want to give a premise, a little background as regards what government has done. I will say right now, government has done a lot in terms of legislations to say, okay, people who anti-Islamophobic people, anti people who are racist and everything. There's new jail term for them, some 10 years, 5 years, people who protest with violent riots and everything. The government are trying so much to clamp down on such people, with over 300 people being arrested right now. And honestly, they are going to be prosecuted. The government are not taking this line down. They're showing steps. The other day, the first minister in Scotland met with Christian leaders, Muslim leaders to really talk about the way forward. You see, government are doing a lot to see how they could salvage the situation. But I want to take us back to 2021. 2021, a lot of us came into the UK, came through school, and we were doing a lot. We came to school and everything. And then, sometime around late 2022, early 2023, Brave Man, the then secretary, said, I think Brave Man is her name, if I'm not wrong.
Hmm.
She said that they are trying to review people who come to study from who get like post study of 2 years to 6 months. That if you can't get a job for 6 months, you should go back. There's no need staying in the country for 2 years and everything and all that. And that was one policy, but it didn't fly. And then the government came again and said the number of immigrants, the number of people who are coming to study and their dependents are so high. So first of all, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut down on immigrants because the influx is too much. They're cutting down on immigrants. If you know you're coming to study for a master's, don't bring your family, come alone because the dependents are so much. We're spending so much money to cater for kids and dependents and what have you. And then the government went on to say that people who are coming to work, people who are coming to work, first of all, if you don't have a particular threshold of salary, you can't bring your family, you can't get work. So all was in a bid to say immigrants are the whole summation of what all government policies are say immigrants are too much. We want to cut down on immigrants. So look at that. British people they've been listening to all these news because it's not only immigrants are hearing news as regards immigrants. Everybody hear the news as regards immigrants. They are spread, they are the population outburst and everything. Coupled with the standard of living right now with the rise in living cost and everything. Do you think all these policies governments were putting to mitigate the influx of migration or to mitigate the migration influx? Don't you think, or do you think this was a bearing factor? Was this could this be seen as a contributing factor to this outburst as regards we don't want immigrants in the country anymore?
When leaders, I'm sorry, Ose, you just hold your thought for a
Yes,
second. I
fine.
just want to brush.
Yeah.
When leaders of a country keep saying some things, people interpret it directly or indirectly. And that
Yeah.
is to say that, oh, what you guys are much deliberating about must be the problem of the nation. And don't forget that the first minister from Scotland in that table also argued that if we are so proud If you people are so blinded by your pride, although that is not, I'm not taking that literally. If you people are so blinded by this, your whole, they are coming in, and you block their ways, and they will go somewhere else. And what is she trying to say? What she's trying to call their attention towards is that you need people to drive economy of a country. So the question I want to ask now is that, are we even deliberating? Are we talking about legal immigrants or illegal immigrants? Last time I checked, you are arguing about legal immigrants. People your policies allow to your country. People that abide by your rules and regulations to come into your country, not illegal immigrants. So how are you making legal immigrants your problem? What you do about your law, what you do about your constitution is none of my business, fam. But you cannot make people who are abiding by your rules to look as if abiding by your rules is a problem for them, or they are your problem when they abide by your rule. Did we come to school maybe by any kind of shady way? Did we pass through the waters into their country? No. Did we pay our way? Did we follow their rules and did we pay their school fees? Did we abide by the immigration rules? Yes. So how are you making us the issue? So if you are going to adjust your rules in order to fit in, to make your society more prosperous, more stable, why not go ahead? There's no issue with it, fam. But just understand that the world is pacing, and people will drive towards any economy that will actually benefit their life. It has happened, it will happen, and it will continue to happen, regardless of your policies or your stringent laws or anything. It's something that will happen. Look, let me tell you one truth today, so you understand that people gravitate towards. Do you know the influx of investors that are in Africa? Why are people taking their money from here and go to Africa to invest? People gravitate towards opportunities. It is a natural instinct in
Beautiful
man.
market right now there.
Yeah, it's a natural instinct of man to gravitate towards interest, benefits, and opportunities. You can't blame human beings for being human beings. So George Orwell said in his Animal Farm that it seems as if some animals are more equal than the others, because they say all animals are equal, but some are more equal. It's a
And
very
the others.
than, than the others. So is that what you're trying to tell us? Well, it's fine. No, I think some people, they need to understand that it is not a do or die affair for us. But we gravitated towards opportunity. We can't lie to your face. We gravitated towards opportunities, stable economy. Yes, our country is a mess right now, and we hope that when it comes to our time, we are going to play the ball very well. There's no shame about it. There was a time at which you also were gravitating towards the world for opportunities, navigating through the world. We are not stupid. We are students and people of history. So we need to also put it back to your face that it is not, I have friends in China, I have people, Japan, people, I have friends in Japan is not going to give you citizenship or whatever, but they are abiding by the rules. People are renewing their visa and staying there years and years. China is not giving anybody citizenship. People are in Dubai, Qatar, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Jordan. So it's just a natural instinct of man. So I think I rest my case on this before I say something I don't want to say.
Well, I think before we even go into that, as you said, Dimeji, the media has played a big role in flaring this thing up. What they failed to do was create a clear distinction between legal migrants and illegal migrants, right? You never saw at any time when they were doing their statistics, their charts, and all of that, where this is the number of illegal migrants. So they just classed everybody as migrants. So for most of the citizens here, they could not distinguish between, it's still a shock to each of them every time you tell them how much you spend to come here. They are
Honestly, that's
shocked. I
right.
remember the
Very true.
last, they are always stunned. You spent that much, you spent 30,000 pounds, 40,000.
Yeah.
Wow. And
Why?
then
They will
and
even
then
Wait,
ask
most
you
of the
why.
time they
Osega, let me
think,
even Osega, let me drop something before you continue. I remember when we were in school, when I was doing my masters, and I was having a conversation with a couple of my classmates, and I said
yeah,
my school fees for the whole session is £14,500. And one guy said, "What?" He said that's so much. He said that will pay the school fees of 3 people in the UK.
And we
So you
paid it
see the
as
shock.
students. No stress,
So you
stress.
see
We
the
paid
shock
it as
that
students.
how did you get so much money to pay school fees? Let me stop
Yeah.
there. Continue, my brother.
So they are shocked. And then we tell some of them what we used to do before we got here. They're like, no way, because a couple of them don't really value education that much, so they don't see the need for it. Like, wow, you mean you left all that and you were here? I could never. So the media did that. So everybody just classified them as, man, they're just coming here for opportunities. It's sad that despite how high the value of what we have to pay to get education is, you're still not entitled to public funds, right?
Yes.
And then, so, I mean, it's already a struggle. You're already 10 steps
And to
backward.
top it, and they started interviewing the stupid people amongst us. I dare them to interview me, K or us a guy. They started interviewing what's that guy's name? What's MD
Okay, the
Tiami?
other.
Started interviewing people, stupid people amongst us, in order to actually foster the agenda. I dare them. That's because I dare BBC or any platform to interview me, interview K, interview us a guy. Continue.
Bro, it was intentional. It was clearly intentional because they had an agenda. Now, the Teesside University incident that happened recently, when the BBC came, there is one charity very close to where I live. I wouldn't call the name anyway, but when the BBC came, because it's very close to Teesside, they asked us who were there on that day. We'd like to talk to you about the current situation in Teesside University, and then all of us said, no, we're not students. We have no idea what's going on, and so we declined. And then they managed to get somebody who clearly said something different, but because they had an agenda, they put the part of the clip that suited their narrative. And I mean, the headlines everywhere was 80% of this charity are struggling Nigerian students. So the charity is out to help Nigerian students. My brother, Nigerian community where I live, were so pissed that the next week, no single Nigerian visited the charity, and it kept happening. They had to send an email to the president of the community that what's going on? We noticed that nobody's coming anymore. I say, yes, that's because as a community, we are pissed at the narrative you guys are pushing out, because that's
Exactly.
clearly not what the case is. And she was like, oh, we're so sorry. We didn't know that was what's going to happen. But I said, no, no, no. This is clearly what this person was saying. How come we're seeing something else entirely on TV? So because they clearly have an agenda and then they're pushing that. So that's why all of this is intentional. It's intentional. As it's shocking. And while they are doing that, they are quietly taking our brightest brains, right? And you won't see that anywhere on the media. I have two cousins here from the same mother, they're siblings. They are here on scholarship. They're studying medicine in the university. They're not going to let them go back when they're done, right?
At all.
Never.
So I mean, they do it all the time. Even in the US, they give scholarships to the brightest minds and then they keep them because this is all in a plot to build their economy, right? So 80% of everyone who comes here from, Nigeria, my country anyway, as students, they come because they desire to put in the work here, help grow their economy whilst as in settling in what would be called home eventually. There's no problem with that. It happens everywhere, as in there's migration everywhere in the world, right? You are saying you want to clamp down on migration, but then you're encouraging people to come on boats and then you're treating those ones a ton better than the way you're treating us here. I'm shocked when I hear some of how much they pay them on sec, how much they have to pay them for, benefits and all of those things. So it's clearly a narrative. And then with time, with platforms like what we are doing currently, we can push our own narrative as well. So that people get to know that this is not what it is, but this is what it is. So we'll tell our own story. No one can tell our story better than we can. I would like to say that this government, they're doing a lot. Kudos to the Prime Minister. He has said that they are going to prosecute everyone who has been arrested for their roles in the protest and all of that. So I think that's a step also in the right direction. And with time, we'll get to where we need to be. That's my take, guys.
So that's very good. So we have less than roughly 10 minutes to go, and let's just tie this up because, to be honest, I'm getting really emotional because this topic has left the we have left the era of gra gra to really the softy side of the whole thing. Because to be honest, we are doing so much. To be honest, a lot of us who come here as students, we had to work. We had to do all sorts of jobs people wouldn't do, and we had to pay our taxes. We had to pay my taxes. I still pay my taxes. I contribute to the growth of this economy. So you can't tell me I do not contribute. I pay my taxes, I pay my light bill, I pay my council taxes. I have a house. I got a
And we
car.
obey the
We
rules.
all have cars.
And,
And you
and we
pay when you have a car now, you are paying your car
road
tax.
tax,
So
insurance,
there's and the
and you're
funny thing
obeying the
about it
rules.
is,
And you're obeying the
and
rules.
if
You're
we
obeying the
obey the
rules.
rules, and the funny thing is, honestly, I don't know why they don't bring out the census, but I like to understand. I would like a situation where they bring out the statistics of, okay, what are the percentage of immigrants who are in jail? Let's scale that percentage of immigrants who are in jail
See, let,
to
let,
the
let,
percentage
let me
of
shoot.
immigrants who are contributing to the growth of this nation.
No, let me shoot. Let me shoot in that direction.
Yeah.
I told you that I brought it from the broader perspective, and this your question is actually broader than as simple as you're placing it, because there's a threat of population going in the world, and I would explain myself, and you would agree with me that it's a game that if not careful, some people are actually scared of going into extinction. This is a fact. I'm not dealing with I'm not here to sell what is it called hopeless what is it called, because last time I checked you will see that there is this youth engagement by United Nations and the strategy of 2030 in shaping international policies and advocacies. So we look at all those diverse perspectives, most especially from the work of Malala Yousafzai, and I was listening to Strive Masiyiwa of Zimbabwe too. Strive Masiyiwa is a billionaire from. He made mention of the fact that by the turn of this century, scholars are saying that more than 40% of the world population will be Africans, and it will be even by the end closure properly that more half of the world population will be Africans. Statistics, these are statistics they won't tell you, they won't tell their people. We know it, you know it, everybody knows it, it's there. I'm not lying, this is United Nations statistics, bro. So now you think like the other party. How do you think this is actually posing, looking at the enormous culture, our cultural belief, how we hold on to the family value, procreation, and and that is why I understand when Nigel Farage was coming from the integration, but he doesn't understand that this world right now, it is the woke generation. We are aware you cannot play that game with us anymore. You see all these shenanigans you've been playing, this diplomacy, it doesn't work for this generation anymore. And so the older generation cannot procure solutions for this newer generation. So all these politics of sentiments, politics of discrimination, of it doesn't work anymore. So we understand their fear. So when you ask that question about population, you really think they will review that population, even if they know? Do you really think that's not a threat, even to them? It's something that is going on in the world, bro. Africa is a very young. They said every more than 40% of Africa is 60% a young continent. So more than 40% of African population, they are under 20. Do you know what that means, bro?
There's
So
still a long way
it's
to go.
it's a crazy statistics, bro. It's a very crazy statistics. And I don't want to go deeper. I don't want to offend, but just let me hang it there. And I'm very sure
Let
we
me talk
understand
like
already.
let me speak like that. Those people in church, go deeper, sir. Go deeper,
you know
sir.
there's no way I'm going to go deeper. I'm not going to touch offensive aspect of the
Yes.
statistics of
Okay.
how Africa is multiplying day by day, procreation, and how this society is declining on the west side. And there's no way we are not going to touch, some aspects that is very sensitive in this part of the world. But I don't want to sound offensive. It is just statistics that is there. That's why I said, and I'm hiding on that. That anybody that wants to listen to this podcast now and is finding what he's saying is offensive. No, bro, go and take a look at the promise of the youth engagement, United Nations Youth Strategy 2030 in shaping international policies and advocacy, then come back to me and argue.
See, I told at the start of the whole program, I told you guys, listeners, I told you guys to get your pen and paper. You're going to get schooled. The major is taking us to class number 2. So basically, we have just less than 5 minutes to go. So let's tie this up now. What do you guys think the way forward is in terms of how? Because whether we like it or not, immigrants are here to stay. In terms of how can we coexist? What do you think is the solution to coexisting peacefully? Because to be honest, let me tell you the truth, there's no way, no matter how it is, there are some bad eggs in the system who will always want to cause problems and cause unrest in the people. There are people who are not excited when there's peace and quiet. They always want to cause unrest. That is where they thrive. So, but what do we think is the way forward to see how we can really foster that unity? Because whether you like it or not, the UK as a whole is a multicultural society right now. You have the Asians, even in the Asians, you have Pakistanis, you have Indians, you have the Chinese, you have the Japanese. They all have communities. And in Africa, you have the Nigerian community, the Ghanaian community, the South Africa. So there's this wide, even aside, even Eastern Europe, there's the Eastern European bloc in the UK at its time. Even people from the US, Australia, and all. So the question, even I'm sorry to say, even Jamaicans on their own, they have a big population in the UK. So how can we, as a wide multicultural society, now live together? Because at the end of the day, the aim is to ensure to foster economic growth and development in the UK. That's the end goal. So how can we, as a multicultural society in Britain, live together and foster growth and unity? What do you think is the way forward?
Also, do you want to shoot first before I shoot?
Who's going first? Who's
No,
going
just go
first? Who
first.
wants,
I'll
who
go
wants
after
to
you.
jump?
Yeah,
Amazing can
my
go first.
my take is very simple. The UK, the US, we are experiencing the future, but I think life is faster than their leaders. From the advent of digital revolution as catalyst, we can see that what digital technology has done is that it has blurred geographical boundaries, giving access to everybody in the globe, information, communities across the globe. I can be in South Africa right now and do business with someone in Russia, and I get paid. I can be in China right now and successfully be giving class, university lectures to people in the United States. It's happening. The future is right now. We've broken now. How could the internet right now break boundaries of geographical can break geographical boundaries? And here we are. We are still talking. Yeah, into my border and everything. So life is faster than these leaders, fam. So we need to understand that culture has evolved to a place of oneness. And permit me to bring the scripture. What do you think? How do you think it's going to be possible that the Bible predicted that there will be a time that there will be one government in the world? If you are not thinking in the direction of the fact that everybody is going to align and there will be all this, or we will drop all this sentiment of the geographical location and cultural boundaries and everything. Is that not happening? Are we not integrating? Are we not living together in the UK already? But seems as if some people are pacing in the right direction, while some people are still pinching tents with sentiment. So to me, I would say it will be better. We take a clue from all this digital revolution, because who gives an F who created Facebook? Who gives an F who created this laptop? Who gives an F who invented Twitter, or whatever we are using as social platform? But for the fact that it's made available and we can actually have access to the world, we're exploring it, right? So to me,
Exactly.
Sure.
I would say the leaders should also pace with what is going on and take a clue from digital revolution, because the world is moving at a pace of oneness. We don't need all this nonsense sentiment anymore. All these rubbish immigrant and everything, all these arguments should drop.
All right. Osei, in 30 seconds. In 30 seconds. We are
Yeah,
running out of time.
I would say enlightenment. Because you see, you've talked about culture, and then you've also forget that culture is supposed to be dynamic, but sometimes it's slow before it gets dynamic. It's usually static. Takes a whole lot of time. Even the Bible says, "By your traditions, you have rendered the word of God invalid." Right? It means that when you hold on to this is how it has always been, this is how it should be done. So it's if you enlighten them to say, these migrants are not your enemies, they're not here to take your jobs, they are here to help build the economy. So start getting used to them, start seeing them as brothers. I think that will go a long way in making them more receptive towards us.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Thank you very much, Osei. So it's been a very wonderful time. Next week we're going to talk about a topic. It's going to be religious based. So get ready. We're going to look at religion next week. From me, from Usega, from Dimeji, all the way from the other side of
Hey guys.
town, from everywhere, we say goodbye. Have a lovely week ahead, and we can't wait to see you next week and have wonderful conversations with you. Cheers.
Yeah. Cheers.
All
Bye.
right, guys.
Bye, guys.